Welcome to Digital Hospitality. I am your host, Sean Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ media production. Today we are coming live from the main floor at Cali Comfort Barbecue, which is the first time that we've ever recorded a podcast, I think, within the four walls of the restaurant. So Digital Hospitality is taking a new step today. Today's guest is Steve Miller, the owner of Rock Creek Lake Resort in the eastern Sierra Mountains of California. He reached out to us digitally, which is the essence of the Digital Hospitality podcast. It's one thing to be curious, it's another thing to get involved, and all the magic happens when you actually reach out and share information. That's kind of how we've built our business and why I'm excited to talk to Steve today. So welcome to Digital Hospitality.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you and your wife own a resort in the eastern Sierra Mountains. Tell me more.
Yeah, we have taken over Rock Creek Lakes Resort from her parents, who have owned it.
Family business.
Yeah, they've owned it for over 40 years now.
Okay.
And they were looking to move into retirement, and we took the opportunity to take it over.
I think one of the important things that Derek and I talked about on Behind the Smoke and what we continue to talk about every week on Digital Hospitality is so much of business is family. Whether the family is actually participating in the business or not, it takes a family to buy into a business. And no matter what you're doing in life, it's very rare that the generation wants to take something on, and when they do want to take it on, they want to make their imprint. And I think that's kind of one of the things that you had expressed to me and Stover in the email that you wrote, kind of what you had heard by listening to Behind the Smoke, kind of resonated with you in the fact that you wanted to do something that hadn't been done in the 40 years prior.
Yeah. The legacy that Amy's mom made was pies. Mm-hmm. And it was the previous owners had even done pies back in the 60s, 50s, and 60s.
What kind of pies are we talking about?
Like handmade fruit pies.
Handmade fruit pies.
Yeah.
So like apple pies.
Apple pie, peach pie, strawberry pie, and then cream pies.
So
coconut,
they got
cream.
known for. I mean, so in San Diego County, Julian is known for its pies.
Yeah.
Santa Isabel is
right.
Julian apple pies, and like they literally built this incredible business based on pies.
Yeah.
But you took over a resort that had pies, so people came for pies, but then you decided that maybe pies wasn't the answer.
It would be like us taking over Julian and starting a barbecue shop.
Which is a bold move. It's a very bold move.
That's how it feels. Because I've gone out to Julian.
So you're familiar with Julian?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've gone out there. I've got pie there. It's really good. Mm-hmm. But their operation is 100 times what ours is.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not handmade. You've got the presses and all that stuff, and they've got those tractor trailers storing frozen crust so that they can pump out as many pies as they can. But for us, it's a small, I think it's 800 square foot kitchen.
Yeah.
And 100-year-old building up in the middle of nowhere. And you're open seasonally, so finding a baker to do all that is tough. So it was Sue, owner, doing it, because not only can you work those long hours, you live there.
Yeah.
So it's easier. And so she just hand make 40 pies a day. It'd be like cooking 40 pies a day in your kitchen at home, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like in there. So,
but these pies became famous. I mean, they were featured in national publications like Sunset Magazine.
Yeah, I think twice in Sunset Magazine.
Which is a huge deal. For old media, legacy production, I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think that happened in the 90s, and from there it kind of exploded.
Yeah.
And there's a line every day, starting at... we had to set a time when pies were out of the oven, just because people would try and order pies at 6 a.m. when we're still making them.
Wow.
But, we just told everybody pies are out at 10, and so you'd have people lining up,
Wow.
before 10, and then line zigzagging through the store. And then as soon as you start serving, it's just all hands on deck. Everybody's scooping pies.
So we're talking about 40 pies a day, and how much are we
Yeah.
selling a pie for?
By the end, it was $7.75 a slice.
Oh, a slice.
Yeah.
So a slice of pie. How much was the whole pie?
Whole pie was by the slice, no discounts.
Just by the slice.
Because
it was that good.
Yeah, so we tried to keep people from doing that because there
Sure.
wasn't enough to go around. And yeah, so
How many
people
slices in a pie?
There's 6. The apple pie had 7. So yeah, about 60, $70 a
Wow.
pie, and people would, without hesitation, would buy a whole pie.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where we had to say, okay, you can't buy a whole pie unless you pre-order it the day before, and we'd limit how many whole pie orders we'd do for the next day. That way we'd have enough for the people.
How long were you working in the business while this was going on?
I was in the business 5 years.
5 years?
Before we cut pies.
Before you cut pies.
Yeah, I met.
So for 10 years, you were slanging pies.
No,
5 years.
5 years.
5 years you were
Yeah.
slanging pies.
but I wasn't actually in the pie. There was also a grill, which is kind of like in the back seat. So they cooked burgers when I showed up.
Okay.
And so I was flipping burgers for that whole time.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of how that's what I like to do, is grilling.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my wife would be in there with her sister and her mom making pies every day, serving them, and I'd just be at the grill cooking burgers. And if it wasn't for the pies, we'd probably have no burger business.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 5 years, and then 2015 was our last season selling pies.
So when you and your wife have this conversation that you're going to take over the business, and you have it with your mother-in-law
And father-in-law.
and father-in-law,
Yeah.
and they're essentially retiring. They're tired of making pies.
Yeah, she's tired of making pies. Amy, my wife, doesn't want to make pies for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make pies either. So, yeah, we just talked about it and said if we are going to take this business over, we're going to cut pies.
Yeah.
Just for our sanity and for the longevity of the business. Because, I mean, for as many people as you're making happy serving pies to, there's double that, maybe triple that are unhappy because they just drove however long to get a pie and there's none left.
So how is the resort business doing without the pies? So like just
Now?
the resort business before you guys took over?
The resort, the bread and butter is our cabin rentals.
The cabin rentals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
because it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
just
You don't have to-
incredible.
those
How
sell
far are you from
themselves.
Mammoth Mountain?
We are about maybe a 30-minute drive.
30-minute drive from Mammoth Mountain,
Yeah.
Eastern Sierras of the. It's absolutely. If you go on their website, it's just unbelievable the serenity of these cabins.
Yeah, and Mammoth uses our head wall for a lot of their marketing. So we
Oh,
get
really?
a ton of publicity for free, basically. Our fall colors is kind of something that Mammoth has started to push more. And all their brochures and magazines have our head wall on the front
So are you
page.
competing with the Mammoth resorts, or you have a different demographic? And the people that are coming to
Yeah.
stay at Rock Creek, are they they're not coming and then going to snowboard or ski, are they?
No.
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 They're coming for
they're coming just
the
to be in
serenity.
Rock Creek.
They're coming for the serenity of
Yeah,
Rock Creek.
because you got the lake right across the street from us.
Yeah.
World-class hiking right up the road. Little Lakes Valley Trail is one of the most popular trails probably in the area, the Eastern Sierra area. Just because you could drive up above 10,000 feet and just hike for a few miles, and it's just rolling hills. It's not a steep climb up, so it's more accessible to everybody. And it's just quarter mile after quarter mile of lakes, fishable lakes, ton of fish out there.
Cool.
And
Are there hot springs out there also?
not in the Rock Creek Canyon, but if you go down the hill and drive towards Mammoth, there's hot springs
Yeah,
out there.
very
and
cool.
And the caldera there.
So what's the season for your guys' business?
We operate Memorial Weekend into May till mid-October.
till mid-October, and then close up shop.
Shut it down, drain all the water out, shutter the windows, and get it out of there before it snows.
Okay.
And then they close the road 3 miles down from the resort, so you can't drive up there. It's just there's a lodge down the road from us.
Okay.
And they operate in the winter, grooing that road for backcountry skiing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Rad.
So
Very cool.
yeah.
So tell me about the idea. Is it the conversation you have with your wife? You decide to cut pies. Cutting pies, do you decide that you need to add something else? Was that really what the impetus was, or?
Yeah, I think it started right when I first started working at the resort. It was 2010, and there's another guy working there, and we had cooked some ribs in the grill, and we made a sauce, this original sauce.
Okay.
And it's actually my dad's recipe.
Very
So
cool.
We were up there.
Yeah,
we had no
those
sauce.
of you that are watching on YouTube, we have both of their sauces in front of us, and we're going to do a little. Every podcast, we actually produce a YouTube episode with the Blue Vision team, but then we also do a behind-the-scenes episode, and we're going to go into a little of the how to bottle your barbecue sauce with Gene, our pit master, is also Steve. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But tell me more about how that sauce got off the ground.
It was the fall of 2010. It was my first summer there, and we had cooked ribs. Didn't have any sauce to put on it, except for the cheap Smart and Final brand stuff that we sell in our store. And so I called my dad for his recipe, because he'd been making this my whole life, or at least since I was in high school.
Where's your dad from?
Tehachapi.
From Tehachapi? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's where I grew up.
Okay, cool.
So we make it. It's really good. Put on the ribs. They taste great. Everybody likes them. And at the time, I was really into bottling or making our own beer and preserves and stuff. And so I was like, oh, I should bottle this and try and sell it just as a joke. And
just as a joke.
Yeah.
You want to do something that's really difficult to try to bottle fucking barbecue sauce.
Yeah, so
just as a joke.
I did it as a joke, and I ordered some jars online, and I probably put the sauce into 4 bottles.
Uh-huh.
And one of those labels that you get from Kmart that you put in your printer, you print out. So I just put the name on it. I think I said Miller & Son right off the bat, because it was my dad's.
Cool.
And me. So I did that. Looked pretty basic. I put it out in the store, and some people bought it.
Cool.
And so I bottled some more. I think I bottled maybe 6 bottles the rest of that fall. And I don't know, I wasn't thinking a whole lot of it, and just kind of wanting feedback from people, I guess. And the feedback was positive, so I kept doing it. And the next summer I did it, but I made it so that I stayed consistent throughout the summer. I made it so that it was always out in the store. When people bought some, I'd make some more.
Sure. How many cases are we talking about?
Not very much.
Not very many.
Like, this was very under the table,
Small
kind of
batch.
like giving it away almost. Nothing. I mean, I put
just
it
to prove your concept.
Yeah, and I was putting it in just a little, I don't know, little saucepan and filling a couple bottles at a time. So I don't know about that. And
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people talk about, oh, my dad has an amazing sauce, or my grandpa has a sauce, or, oh, I do a great, every 4th of July I make something it's like, you can talk all you want, but you got to fucking do it. Like, you actually got to go to Kmart, get the label, get the bottle, put the recipe in. Like, that shit doesn't just happen. It actually takes action.
Yep.
And then those action, you either improve upon it or you don't.
Yeah.
And you improved upon it to where you have 2 sauces now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just kept tweaking the recipe, and at the time, Amy was really grilling me on my diet and the things I ate.
Your wife grills you on your diet too?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
this is not just me?
This was right around when, like, the high fructose corn syrup stuff was coming out, and the hydrogenated oils were being talked about. And so I just kind of broke down the recipe and broke it down even further by the ingredients I was putting in, and just went to the point where I was getting as raw of an ingredient as I could to make this, instead of the original recipe calling for ketchup. Mm-hmm. You can get all sorts of things in ketchup, so I broke that down. Okay, how do I make my own ketchup?
Yep.
So I'd go and get some tomato paste, get some vinegar, and add the seasonings myself. And this was a couple of years later where I was experimenting with my own ketchup just to put in the sauce so that it still tasted good and was a little healthier.
That's great. And wife is happy?
I think so, yeah.
There you go. Well, I mean, I think one of the things that is important, we just finished up a podcast at Wonderfront with Uncle Ed's Vodka. And Uncle Ed, the founder of the vodka, he has chosen to live a sustainable lifestyle out in Hawaii. And one of his main goals is to incorporate the practices that he does on the island into their vodka company. And I think that's something that obviously resonated with me, resonated with my wife, who is always looking at, better ways to take care of the earth that we're going to be giving to my son and my daughter. And I can hear that, especially for somebody that your business is based in the Sierras. I mean, you're literally based in tranquility and peace.
Yeah.
If something threatens that becomes an issue.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the marketing side of the resort, as well as the barbecue restaurant and the sauce.
Well, like I said, I think the cabins kind of sell themselves for the most part, but there was a drop in reservations leading up to us taking over, and so we were kind of just talking about everything, like where is our market looking at, and is it like newspapers, magazines, which is what
old media?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we had been doing before, like what's it called? Western Outdoor News.
Mm-hmm.
That we put an ad in that, but that's primarily fishermen going to Baja.
Yeah.
To do some fishing out there. So I don't think anyone was looking for cabins in there. They were just looking for fishing reports. And then so about this time also is when Mammoth was starting to kick up their marketing for
digital marketing.
Yeah, the digital marketing and their brochures, their fall color guides and all that stuff. And they're including our canyon in that. So, you get thousands of people driving past us every day, not stopping. So how do you get them to stop? And so it just kind of, Amy redid our website, started there.
Who did?
Amy.
Your wife?
Yeah,
Wow.
Squarespace.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Spent a ton of time doing that and still works on it.
You have
daily.
to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things. We just got off a call with Kyle Pfluger, who from Mithril Media, he built CaliBarbecue.media, and
nice.
Literally, it has to be part of your DNA.
Yeah.
It has to be your blood type to understand that the content that you're putting on the internet is going to either help you build a business or it's not.
Yeah.
And you have to be discoverable. And in order to be discoverable, it's funny to think that every day people are pushing content to Instagram and, I have to make sure I post a photo and I have to add the hashtags, but yet people neglect their website. And the website is the traffic where you're going to convert. Because
really
even though
is.
someone might discover you on Instagram, they're not booking the hotel through Instagram.
Right.
You can add the link in your bio, and we believe in that. And you can do that in your story, which we believe in. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you've got to build a mobile-first site where people understand who you are, what you do, and how do they buy from you.
Right.
How do I book that cabin?
Totally.
What does that cabin look like? And you guys have photos of every single cabin, which I think is very impressive. And that's a conscious decision that you guys made with transparent pricing. And I only say this because this is so vital to what people do. We have such short attention spans. So if somebody chooses to come to your website, if someone chooses to listen to this podcast, we're eternally grateful. But what can we do to offer value back? You offer an incredible place for a family to go. This is the cabins that you can book. And it's right there. I don't need to call and wait and maybe get put on hold.
Right.
I can actually get that information right from the website.
Yeah. And that's been huge. And that happened way before we thought we were going to take the resort over. That was like, I don't know, one of the first or second year that I was there. I kind of talked, I don't know, Amy and I just kind of talked about it and like, hey, we should get a new website up there.
You know from your own behavior, and like I think that's something that through this podcast and digital hospitality, we're living in a world where this digital revolution is happening to every single different type of business, to every different type of industry. And if people aren't conscious of what their business looks like on a cell phone, that's a problem.
Yep.
Are you discoverable?
Yeah.
Are you on Instagram? You guys not only are on Instagram, you have 2 accounts, right?
We
if
do.
not more.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal account too?
No. Well, no.
No,
Mill,
so you-
Mill Sosco is my personal account.
Okay. And then
But
you
I
have the
make it
Rock
about
Creek
it. Yeah.
Resort.
Yep.
So you're pushing content to both of those because you know that it's important.
Yeah.
You know that somebody that's looking to go hiking in the Sierras, if they find you because of an Instagram post, that's good for your business.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's kind of with the resorts Instagram account, that's the market that's following that account. They want to see, is there snow on the road? What are the fishing conditions? What's the weather been like?
You've become the guide.
Yeah.
You've become the eyes and the ears and the pulse of the community.
Right. And that's, I mean, before that it was a million calls a day, and we still get a ton of calls a day for weather updates and stuff like that. But I think a lot more people can just look on our website or social media and find out that information. And it especially with the Facebook group, it kind of becomes a little community for them too, for just people who enjoy going up to Rock Creek and have been going for generations. So
you guys have a Facebook group dedicated, or you are part of groups?
We don't have a group, but our page is kind of sometimes acts like a group.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also a Rock Creek group page that we are not affiliated with.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on there to give information whenever I see somebody posting a question.
And that's
chime
very
in
important
if I know the answer. But
well, it's very important because you are an expert in your field and you know exactly. Yeah, I know there's snow on the ground because I just shoveled it. This morning.
Yeah, and when Amy and I first got married in 2016, we decided to live up at the resort during the winter. So that 16-17 winter, which was record-breaking. And so
in terms of snowfall?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That was like, I think the resorts were open till Easter or something just like absurd.
Oh, Mammoth was open until end of July, I think.
End of July?
August.
Like
yeah.
Skiing or snowboarding on 4th of July is just unbelievable.
Yeah, so we decided to live there that year, obviously not knowing it was going to be that kind of winter. And people knew that we were living there, so they'd always message us, hey, what's the lake look like? Or they'd say they're going to ski up for the weekend, and we'd warn them about all the avalanches that were going on and things like that. So
I mean, I think that's so important for people to understand, and it's one of the themes that we've talked about, since we started this podcast, was that it's not just about digitally marketing your business. It's about understanding that you can become a voice in your community. And we talk about becoming a media company because we're publishing content not just for our restaurant, but for Spring Valley, for the San Diego sports community, for whatever subtopic you're talking about. You can help people with information that's vital. And if people are coming to Mammoth, they might not know about what you guys are doing,
right?
But maybe you create something that gives them that digital awareness for the family of 4 that's driving up there, and they're like, hey, everywhere's packed at Mammoth. We can't book a place to stay. Where can we go?
Yeah.
Guess what? You better hope that teenager finds your spot.
Right. Oh,
and whether that's on Snapchat or TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you've got to be there because you've got to be relevant.
Right.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, and I think Yelp kind of helps with that.
Yelp is
as
incredible.
Much as I have a love-hate relationship with Yelp,
as a business owner, once you
help.
get over that love-hate relationship and start to embrace Yelp for what it is, there are going to be people that are going to say bad things about your business. You just need to accept that and move on. Respond to them in a cordial way, but move on. But then embrace Yelp for what it is, and it's an incredible search engine.
Yeah, and I actually gained a customer from turning a bad situation into a
positive one.
Yeah.
Well, they become, because you're probably one of the 5% of business owners that claim your page, and not only claim your page, but you're active. You publish new things for your site because it's a separate site than your website, but then you respond to reviews.
Yeah.
I bet you the person that saw the response was like, holy shit, Like that's literally an internet oh shit moment where you're like, oh my God, this person actually cares.
Right.
Obviously you care. You open up the fucking business.
Yeah, and this was back in the pie days.
Back when what? Oh, the pie day?
Yeah, so it was a complaint about the pie, which, you know, how I feel about that. It's
Sure.
a little silly, but I don't know, I just want everybody to be happy, and that's the thing. The pies were just making so many people upset.
Yeah.
So that was the main
Well,
reason.
it's not very hospitable to make people
No.
upset. Supply and demand it's a good thing for business, but when you can't meet that demand, no matter what you do, then sometimes you have to change. You know, you have to be willing to adapt.
Right.
I think that's something that you guys obviously did.
Well, that's why I thought barbecue would be an answer to fill that void, because I thought you could expand that easier than you could pie.
Well, first of all, barbecue's not easy.
And that's what I found out real quick.
There's nothing easy about craft
Nope.
barbecue. But when you make a dedication to that craft, you can create something that is much more sustainable.
Yes.
And it's something that can be celebrated.
Yeah.
You know, it gives people that reason. I mean, everyone's looking for a reason, a compelling storyline to why to support a business, to why to go in, to why to tell a friend, hey, you got to come down to this local bar. They've got this cocktail. The first digital hospitality episode we did was at Starlight, and I knew about Starlight because of their Moscow mules. Like literally I had seen it on Facebook or I'd seen it on Yelp or someone had said something, but you know, hearing the story behind the Moscow Mule, and that's what we're all trying to do as a business. You know, try to create something that's compelling enough that someone's willing to share about it.
Right.
And I think that's what you guys are finding with barbecue.
Yeah, and also, you know, you put 2 pies in the oven. It's about all you can fit in there.
Yep.
I can fit 10 briskets on the smoker, and they're all
What kind
done.
of smoker you guys have?
I built a 400-gallon offset.
Awesome. How'd you YouTube?
No. Franklin's book that he came out
his
with.
book.
I think that inspired it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of offset pits that Franklin has inspired, it's just it's unbelievable. I mean, the gift that he has given to so many barbecue aficionados is something that is what we aspire to do. I mean, the gift of barbecue that Gene gave us was, this is how you run an amateur barbecue contest. This is how you can incorporate barbecue into your menu. These are some recipes, but it's the journey that along that way.
Yeah.
Because none of it was easy.
No.
None of it.
No.
It's still not easy to this day.
No. And that book came out at a pretty low point for me because we were using green egg. That was kind of my first smoker.
Sure.
And so, we had cut the pies. I had the green egg. I already had the sauce. I did it backwards. I had the sauce. And so for the next 2 years, I was working on smoking meat. And it was mainly the burgers that were the driving force. But, so I had won a burger battle. Or not won. I got second place, but I had entered a burger battle.
Where?
In Mammoth.
In Mammoth? Cool.
Yeah, it was the Mammoth Food and Wine Experience burger battle, and it was me versus 4 local chefs, and
Awesome.
I got second, so that boosted my
Confidence.
So I kept going and started working with the meat on the green egg, and it must have been pretty good because it got to the point where I was cooking on it every single day, which is kind of a pain on the green egg.
Sure.
Because all that grease makes it really hard to use.
Well, it depends on what you're.
Yeah, the briskets.
I mean, correct. And for us, we're huge supporters of Big Green Egg. I mean, they sponsor our festivals. They come out. Brian from Hot Sauces and More. He sells Big Green Eggs, which is right where I live in Chula Vista and Otay, right? But as far as what we do as a commercial restaurant, we use all hickory pits because of the volume that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So we have 2 old hickory pits, not just one, because we got about 2 years into running the restaurant, we got to the point where we no longer had space on the smoker.
Yeah.
So we incorporated our second pit so that we could offset and make sure the most important thing is cooking fresh barbecue every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, kind of outgrew the green egg, and I was at a point where I don't know where to go next. I thought the brisket was okay, but it was missing something for me. The pork was really good. Cooking pork butts on a green egg is some of the best pork
amazing.
I've ever had.
For sure.
But the brisket, it wasn't there. It tastes more stewed.
And how are you furthering your knowledge or your education?
I was just trial and error. I really wasn't looking online. I wasn't reading any books. I was just doing it.
Trial and error.
Yeah. And people would come around back because all the cooking, it happens kind of out in the back. And so people have to go around back to get to our restroom.
Yeah.
So they'd see the operation, they'd start talking about barbecue, and somebody would say, oh, yeah, I put my briskets in a cooler with ice and some, I think, vinegar and a bunch of salt and brine it. Mm-hmm. And so I tried that, and it didn't really make any difference. And then a friend of my mom's from Bakersfield was smoking meat down there, and gave me some tips on the brisket. And then I took it into a Texas-style direction without really knowing, but I liked the way it tasted. Mm-hmm. I liked the way it was more salt and pepper on the rub, and it was a lot easier than what I was trying to do. So I was doing that, started wrapping it in the butcher paper. That was a game changer. And then, the egg, you can fit 2 briskets on there. The one I think I had the XL. Mm-hmm. So 2 briskets, would cook that all day, and then the next day would be pork, and then I'd always be running out of brisket.
You're cooking for the restaurant. You literally building menu for the guests.
I'm testing my recipes, but serving it to customers.
So it's not just guests at the resort. You also have. Did you also have?
It's open to the public.
It's open to the public, so people can know that there's a restaurant.
Yeah, and that.
So you guys are on Yelp.
Yeah.
As a restaurant.
I think it's under Rock Creek
it's
Resort
under Rock
as a
Creek
whole.
As a whole, okay.
Yeah, because I think for the most part, people look at us as a restaurant, even though we have the cabins. They're way off in the woods up above us, so you don't see them.
Really?
So people know that the main building is a restaurant because it has always been. Mm-hmm. And
so that's the restaurant and the store and like the fishing, the bait and tackle.
Yeah.
How many employees do you guys have?
We have 12 to 15.
12 to 15?
Yeah, including Amy and I.
Wow.
So it's a small place, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
we also have
absolutely.
boat rentals, so you come to that general store, rent a boat. And so as far as all that went, we didn't change much.
Fishing poles and
we did, but we stopped doing that because it got crazy.
Because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, because it takes you out for like 45 minutes to rig up poles and teach them how to do it. And so we kind of cut that, but we'll still show you how to do it and set you up, but we won't rent them. You have to buy it, bring in your own. But we didn't change the way the restaurant was set up, and just kept doing the burgers, which was a staple, and then adding the smoked meats as I felt like they were servable. Mm-hmm. And after that season, we got married that year, lived up there, and
What year did you get married?
That was 2016.
2016.
And so it was a tough winter, shoveling roofs every morning until the sun went down at 3, and go inside.
Sure.
And it just dumped snow every day, felt like. And so we had gotten out of there and gone over on a trip to the coast, and I saw that book at Barnes & Noble. The Franklin's Barbecue, and it inspired me because I had all that. I had a bunch of scrap metal up there at the resort, and I knew how to weld.
I mean, the book is incredible. The amount of detail that Aaron
I can't
Franklin
believe he
went into,
disclosed all that information.
Which, I mean, that's the true essence of barbecue and barbecue family, and it's giving back. And it's giving back in a way that he's sharing all these secrets of how to build an offset smoker, how to cook brisket, how to do things the way that he does it. And it's so scientific down to the very last detail.
It's because he knows how hard it is, and he knows that not many people are going to do this commercially, if at all.
Correct. And
that's
the people that do will carry his legacy on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I built a smoker that spring, and since then, it's kind of just taken off.
Yeah.
The
So
smoked
tell me
meats.
what you've done. So you built the smoker, then you incorporated. Did you rebrand the restaurant, or you just menu-wise just started offering more barbecue items?
Yeah, I think not right off the bat, but the menu did start changing a little bit, incorporating more barbecue, and we don't call it Miller and Son Barbecue or anything. It's still just Rock Creek Lakes Resort, just because we have there's so many aspects to the business. But for 40 years, it was called Pie in the Sky.
Yeah.
And so we're still dealing with that.
Sure.
And so I don't want to say, no, we're not Pie in the Sky. So we're...
Have you
I don't
ever
know.
thought
We're
that
Rock Creek Lakes
there's a
Resort, just-
possibility of doing pies? Of doing smoked pies?
Well, that's the other thing. That was the other part of the restaurant that we did rebrand the pies, and they're cobblers. And they're the same pie recipes,
so
same
you're
crust.
doing pies. Yeah?
You're using the pie word, but it's cobbler.
Oh, cobbler.
Because people,
We love cobbler.
pie aficionados, get really mad that it's cobbler. And they don't come up anymore. They're gone. But the people that don't care what shape it comes in
Yeah.
are back, and I don't know.
Because literally the cobbler, you don't have to cook, you don't have to bake
it's
with
a
the pie
giant.
crust.
We put 2 crusts in. It's double crusted.
Yeah.
So, but you have it in a big sheet pan.
Exactly.
And you can cook so much more of
Correct.
it. So much easier to cook that
More
much.
cost effective.
Yeah. So it takes
Higher profit margin.
1 or 2 people per day to cook enough cobbler to get us through the day.
Yeah.
And
before
it was like 8 employees.
Are you smoking the cobbler, or are you cooking it? You're oven cooking
We're
it?
cooking it in the ovens.
Yeah.
I've put the peach cobbler in the smoker. It's okay.
Big Green Egg can do that nice, but
I
not to
know.
the volume that you would need for the
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Or for a holiday, yeah. Gene does that for us all the time. It's phenomenal.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
we do
you're
have a lot.
going on this journey. When I guess when did you come across Behind the Smoke? It's kind of I'm interested in that.
That was end of 2017, I think.
End of 2017,
I
really?
think, or maybe in somewhere in there. I think. I don't know. I was following a bunch of California barbecue teams on Instagram,
Okay.
and I saw some posts from the Turf and Surf.
Turf and Surf Barbecue
Yeah,
Championship.
And maybe it's early 2018. Anyway, I got online to look up for the Turf and Surf, and it just takes you straight to
Behind
Cali
the Smoke
Comfort.
Media?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, this is,
Masterminded right to Behind the Smoke.
but yeah, it was cool. And I was already following you just because I had gone through and followed any
other-
barbecue place I could.
Any West Coast barbecue
yeah.
movement.
So I think
team?
I was
Yeah.
following Cali Comfort already, and so I had
Had you ever listened to a podcast before?
no, not until that.
You have an iPhone or an
Oh,
Android?
I had listened to podcasts, but
Yeah.
not yours specifically. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always listen to podcasts.
So you always listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Android or iPhone do you have?
iPhone.
iPhone?
Yep.
So what was the first podcast you listened to? I'm
I
curious
started from the
because
beginning.
I had an oh shit moment when I started listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
As somebody that loves talk radio and specifically sports talk radio, I've fell in love with the medium, but it was when I found podcasts, which was sometime in 2016, maybe early 2017, where I started searching for marketing, business, restaurants, hospitality, and all of a sudden all these podcasts started coming up, and I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, this is fucking great.
And
once you find something that you like, it's like you have an extra professor, somebody that's
true.
talking
Yeah.
to you and teaching you in ways that
Yeah.
I wish I fucking had those classes in business school.
I think the first time I listened to a podcast was probably in 2012, and it was I can't even remember now, but it was like that. It was like a science-based podcast.
Sure.
It wasn't This American Life, but it was something like that. I can't remember it, but yeah, I would just sit on my days off and listen to that, or download an episode, and if I had to go up and clean cabins, just listen to that.
sure.
And yeah, so
Because you can do something else and listen.
Yeah,
And that's
awesome.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the most incredible things. I think for us, being hosts of a podcast, especially when Derek and I started and doing it above the butcher shop, it was so crazy every week to see that there were people in Philadelphia, in Northern California, in Oregon, in Australia that were downloading and interacting with us because they wanted to learn more about barbecue, or they wanted to learn more about business, or they owned a butcher shop in Israel, and they're interacting with us, and we're like, holy shit, like that's insane. But then if you think about it, those subcultures, those small specific things that we care about that drive us, that's what the internet's doing. It's literally eliminating all those barriers, so you can go into Apple Podcasts and search for whatever you care about, and something's going to come up. And if it doesn't come up, guess what? You should be making that podcast.
I know, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that's why your podcast was so great for me, is because I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I don't have the community that you have right out your front door, so I was just feeling alone in the whole process, and that's why I started getting on Instagram and following people who are doing this and listening to your podcast. It was good to hear people going through the same struggles I was going through, same doubts I was having. You guys are going through it. And
lots of doubts.
Yeah.
Lots of struggles. Lots
that's
of
what
failure.
I needed, and I think that kind of propelled me a little bit.
Well, it's part of back to the family. It's every business, there's a family that's buying in. Whether the wife works within the business, like my wife, she just had our 2 kids, and she's a superwoman, and I can't believe the amount of love and care and compassion that she's had to do to raise both of our kids. But like, she would love to be here, but if she can't, if she's not supporting me, then none of this happens.
Right.
It's like, so that's part of the family side of this whole journey that we're all going through. And I think the power of podcasting and the power of digital and new media is that we can sit here and have an honest conversation and not bullshit it for TV, not bullshit it for a magazine, not have some PR spin to it. It's like, listen, dude, we fucking opened as a breakfast restaurant. If we didn't have breakfast, our restaurant would have been closed.
This place did?
This place.
Okay.
This was built on breakfast.
Wow.
Literally, the first 2 years, we served ribs for dinner. But it was, we chased the liquor license. We wanted to bring a sports entertainment place to Spring Valley that was family friendly, that people could relate to and had good food. Our menu was all over the place. It was a fucking joke. It was crazy. I can't believe we even made it through that.
Yeah.
But along the way, stories were passed down. We reached out to Gene Goycochea, who was part of the barbecue community. It's like, it's not just about the curiosity. You actually have to make the steps. You have to send the email. You have to send the DM. And what happens if somebody says they don't respond?
Yeah.
Nothing.
I've been doing that since, ever since I got into social media. I would always reach out randomly to
ask
long
a question.
Shots. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens if they don't answer?
Nothing.
What if they do?
They do answer, and you get some free
What if Aaron
stuff
Franklin
or
does answer your question?
Yeah, totally.
Like, what if Gene Goycochea does answer your question, helps you put on a barbecue event for Mammoth and the ski resort, and Sean White comes awesome. And those things can happen.
Right. Yeah.
But they start with an idea, but that idea has to come to fruition. And for us, going along this journey and realizing that, we're a barbecue company, but we're a media company also.
Yeah.
We're able to go out and share stories of music festivals that are happening in San Diego in ways that old media, they can't do.
Right.
We only know how to do it because we've had to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, you got to take advantage of every opportunity you get, but you can also make some opportunities for yourself by, like you said, reaching out.
Yeah.
In the DM.
Reaching out on the DM, tweeting at people,
sending an email.
Figuring out. That's really, the world that we live in is, we had Ali Husseini. I don't know if you heard that episode from Bloody Decks, but he created a media company based off of a fishing guide.
Oh, nice.
He's literally has a show on the Discovery Channel, but he built it all off of this fishing guide.
Nice.
And it's like, it's the same thing that's happening if you're compelled to share this information through your Facebook group, through, a podcast, you can create something at Rock Creek that the entire Eastern Sierras doesn't have.
Right.
And you become a voice. And it doesn't matter how many, you don't need to have thousands of people listening. If you have 40 people that are leaders within those small villages up in the Sierras, and they look to you for answers, or they come to you to hear the weekly podcast or the weekly report, what happens? You've changed everything.
Yeah, that's true. I've thought about that podcast up at Rock Creek.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'd talk about, but there's some interesting people that come through that be fun to have on the podcast.
I'm sure there are. I mean, that's the most exciting part about being new media and creating your own media company is you're compelled to share the stories that you want to share.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I was compelled to respond to your email that told me, hey, we took over this incredible resort in the Eastern Sierras. We started bottling barbecue sauce. We started trying to run a barbecue restaurant. You know, you saw us on Instagram, you listened to the podcast, and you're going to be in San Diego. I want to hear that story. I want to hear that story because we're here in Spring Valley, you know, and the fact that anyone's listening to this podcast it's amazing to us, but it's also allows people to have a seat at the table to know that they can do it too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be barbecue. It doesn't have to, literally whatever they care about, they can do it, but it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be digitally focused.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, but if you're digitally focused, when they come in, there has to be a human there. And that's the hospitality side. Isn't that right?
That's totally right.
I mean, if you had 15 people that didn't give a shit about people, you guys would be closed pretty fast.
Oh yeah, and I think all of our followers have been into the resort and have had an interaction with me or my in-laws or our employees, and it's been a positive experience. And they leave, follow us, so that they can stay connected. And otherwise, I don't think we'd have any followers. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Who cares about us?
So where can people go to find you? Everything we talk about, we'll put in the show notes. Stover, our producer in Oregon, he does a phenomenal job getting all the links in there and anything we talk about. But where do you want people to find you?
Well, our main website is rockcreeklakesresort.com. That's lakes plural.
Multiple lakes.
Multiple lakes.
All right.
And then the barbecue site is millsauceco.com.
And they can buy sauce
You can
online,
buy sauce online,
shipped,
shipped by me.
ready for the holidays.
My hands have touched it.
Your hands have touched it, handcrafted.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are, I mean, you can follow us on Instagram at millsauceco or Rock Creek Lakes Resort.
Perfect.
Same on Facebook.
And if you're on your way to Mammoth and you don't stop by and you've listened to this podcast, that's on you.
Yeah.
Because life is about action. So stay curious, get involved, and be sure to follow them on social. And we are grateful that you made it down here, man,
Yeah,
to
thank
share
you
your
so
story.
much.
We're going to follow you guys. And
Thanks.
I'm sure there's going to be some big things happening for the West Coast barbecue movement up in the Eastern Sierras. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, write a review. That helps us out a lot. And check out our YouTube channel. Thanks.